before I begin, raise your hand in the audience if you are an upperclassman. All right, we got quite a few of you. I want you to keep your hands up, right? If the missing answer to this question has given you the night sweats. You see, that's the most terrifying question you could possibly ask an upperclassman. And believe me, I would know because it was asked of me countless times over the past year. You know, for some, the answer is grad school. For others, a gap year. But for many of us, the answer to this demonic question is, I want to get a job in blank. And not just a job, but a great job, one that makes the past 4 years of earning that white piece of paper worth it. But how do we get such a job? Well, the answer we're often told is through internships, and this makes sense. Because speaking most practically, employers are looking for two things from us as recent grads, and that's skills and character. Internships are proof of both, which is why they're the road most traveled. They're the safest bet. But are they the best bet in all cases? You see, there's another approach, another way to gain valuable skills before you get that first job. And I think it's one to at least consider. It's called an apprenticeship. And if you can get one, it just might be the most rewarding experience you have in college. So what is an apprenticeship? An apprenticeship is working directly under a current master in their craft. Unlike an internship, where you may work at the bottom of a larger corporate hierarchy, an apprenticeship is more focused. It should give you one-on-one time with a mentor in your industry of interest, thus accelerating your learning and your skill building. And apprenticeships are a time-tested concept, as almost all the greatest masters, the best of all time, the GOATs in their respective crafts, all served apprenticeships in their formative years. In his book, entitled Mastery, Robert Greene dives deep into the lives of 20 of these so-called masters, from historical figures such as Da Vinci and Darwin to contemporary greats like Y Combinator's Paul Graham and boxing legend Freddie Roach. Each served an apprenticeship in their formative years, working directly under a mentor in their industry of interest. And they served these apprenticeships to not only accelerate their learning, but their skill building. So I finished reading that book by the end of my junior year, and I decided I wanted to test it out. I wanted to see if serving an apprenticeship still had value for us as college students today. And that summer, I knew I'd be experiencing a classic internship anyway, so I'd have a great benchmark to compare my future apprenticeship against. So how'd it turn out? Well, for me, my apprenticeship had incredible value. I served as a copywriter and research assistant for New York Times bestselling author Lewis Howes. I worked with Lewis throughout my senior year, conducting research for his upcoming book, creating pitch decks for future collaborations and projects, and also drafting articles that would later appear in Success magazine and Forbes website. And I want to share with you all how I did it, so you can experience a similar apprenticeship for yourself if you so choose. After some reflection, I realized there were 5 key steps in getting my apprenticeship. And I started executing on the self-made process at the start of my senior year when I had an academically lighter semester. So if you want to have an apprenticeship for yourself, then plan ahead and make sure to do so during an academically light semester, preferably 12 hours of coursework or less. Because an apprenticeship is going to take time, it's going to take effort, and it will take patience, but believe me, I think it really can be worth it. So, step 1. Identify your mentor and become part of their community. In nearly every industry, there are people called influencers, those who are up to big things and who have big followings, and they're often marketing their work on social media. Identify a number of these influencers within your industry of interest that have sizable followings, but they're not so big that they're unreachable. Then, become part of their social media communities. Comment on the articles they share through Facebook. Engage in the conversations that unfold on their Twitter and Instagram. Because many of these influencers are looking to build their social media communities. And by becoming a part of it yourself, you're adding value. It shows that you care. And it's also a really great form of research, because before long, you're going to have a really good understanding of what projects your mentors are working on or will be working on in the future. And that knowledge comes in handy when we get to step 2, which is add value to your mentor for free before you even ask for an apprenticeship. And this step begins with a Venn diagram exercise. So on one half of the Venn diagram, take inventory of your skill set. What are you good at, that is of value to somebody else. And on the other half of the Venn diagram, take inventory of your mentor's business. What projects are they currently working on now or will be working on in the near future? Since you've already become a part of your mentor's social media community, these projects should already be on your radar. And then we have the middle, the overlapping points where your skills meet your mentor's current needs. Once you've identified one or two ways in which you could add value to your mentor, reach out and start doing so for free. Here's how I did it. At the start of my senior year, over the course of one weekend, I volunteered at my mentor Lewis's live event. While at the event, we got to talking and he told me about his upcoming book project, for which I then volunteered to do research. And over the course of the next 2 months, I would send Lewis over 30 pages of academic research for that book, all for free. And this sounds like a lot of work for an already busy college student, but if you space it out effectively, it can become really manageable. For instance, volunteering at that event only took one weekend, and sending him all that research took a couple of hours a week, and I would do it while eating lunch. Plus, as we've already discussed, you should be going after this apprenticeship during an academically light semester. The goal in this step, the goal of step 2 is to build rapport with your mentor, giving them reasons to hire you in the near future. Which brings us to step 3, making the ask. In this step, you ask for an apprenticeship by proposing a solution to one of your mentor's larger problems, one that you could solve if you were to become a paid member of their team or company. The problem that you solve must be a real pain point for your mentor, so make sure to do your research and be specific. You should be able to draft for them an outline of what value you're going to add by becoming a part of their team. What results are you going to be able to contribute right away? Now, one thing that could hold you back from making the ask is doubting whether you have enough expertise or experience to execute on the solution you're proposing. Because if your mentor accepts your proposal, you may be asked to do work you've never actually done before. But don't let these doubts keep you from making the ask. Because everything we've ever done before, everything from riding a bike to walking, we've had to do for the first time once. And the next step in this process will prepare you for the work you're about to do, just like it did for me. And that's step 4, sharpen the axe. Abraham Lincoln has a great quote about the power of preparation. Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I'll spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. So in this step, you prepare yourself to be an excellent apprentice, because you need to be proficient in the skills you're going to execute when you become a full-fledged member of your mentor's team. So ask for 3 to 5 weeks of buffer before your official start date, and during those weeks, read the top books on the role that you're about to fill. This will help you acquire the skills you need to be successful if you don't possess them already. I, for example, proposed working for Lewis as a research assistant and copywriter. And while I was confident in my writing abilities, I had never written sales copy before, and I knew I would be asked to as part of Lewis's team. So, in the 3 weeks prior to my start date, I read the top 3 books on sales copywriting, and I would practice writing sales copy in Lewis's voice for all of his previous products. That way, when I joined his team, we could hit the ground running. Which brings us finally to step 5, work your butt off. Follow through on your proposal. Do everything your mentor asks of you, and add even more value than expected. And yes, this is going to be difficult to juggle at times because you're still a full-time college student while you're doing this apprenticeship. But if you manage your time effectively, you can be able to make it work because, like we've said, you're doing this during an academically light semester. So keep a diligent schedule. Manage your time effectively. And above all else, just do your best. When the apprenticeship comes to an end, take a step back and acknowledge just how far you've come and how much you've accomplished. By executing on that 5-step process, my guess is you'll have learned how to do a lot more than you thought. I mean, think about it. You conducted investigative research and did a Klein analysis. You added value to a mentor's business for free. Then you left your comfort zone while drafting a job proposal and negotiating your salary. Then you mastered a new skill, made an invaluable connection in your industry of interest. And on top of all that, now you've got a pretty cool experience to talk about. Say in a job interview, or a TED Talk. You see, an apprenticeship, that's where the value really is. It's like the Karate Kid. You think you're learning how to paint a fence, but actually, You're learning karate. Thank you, guys.